Well, we got to give the people what they want. It's an old-fashioned crossover with Miller Thomas on Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and this is my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. And if you like what I do, guess what? Also check out Locked On A's, where I am hosting. That's right. I host 10 episodes a week on the Locked On Podcast Network. And they said, hey, Sully, why don't you also take over Locked On Diamondbacks? I said, don't you dare touch Locked On Diamondbacks, because the captain of the ship for the defending National League champs is right over there. Here's our buddy Miller Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Been a minute since we've done a little crossover, Sully. I know the people have been asking, where are the crossovers with Sully and Millie? Well, we're back here together to give you a nice Friday podcast.
That's right. And follow us at Locked On MLB on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And also on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And Miller, what about you?
Yeah, follow Locked On Diamondbacks, Twitter, Instagram. Follow the personal account at CareerThomas24 on Twitter and at Miller.Thomas123 on Instagram.
And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Okay, I think that's all the business we have to do at the top. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, I have one last piece of business. The trivia question, which was, there have been several pitchers in the history of the New York Mets who have won 300 games. They have many 300-game winners have worn the Mets uniform. Who is the only person to win their 300th game while wearing a Mets uniform? Do you know the answer?
No chance.
Tom Glavine. Jared Slatsky got it right. Tom Glavine got his 300th win in a Mets uniform. He's a huge Mets fan, and he pitched during a time I was getting into baseball. Love your show and completely agree that all major leaguers should know how to lay bunts down. Very sad they don't teach that in a lot of systems. That was from Jared Slatsky, 1911. On the YouTubes, he is an everyday Sully. And if you're listening to this every day, put down that hashtag everyday Sully. Yeah, off the top of my head, I know Warren Spahn pitched for the Mets. I know, Tom Seaver pitched for the Mets. I know Nolan Ryan pitched for the Mets. There have been a couple other people who've gone on to win 300 games that have made cameos with the Mets. I know that Tom Seaver won his 300th game as a Chicago White Sox. That's strange, but he did it in New York, no less. All right, hey, let's just talk a little bit here. It's been a little bit since you've been on the show. We did a ton of shows last year, including the World Series that featured
my team.
Yeah, the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's right. The Diamondbacks, lest we forget, are the defending National League champion. As of this recording, they are only 24-26 right now. And they have fallen very far behind the eventual NL West champion and division series losing Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm just going by how the last bunch of years have made us have unfolded. Before we get into what is an absolutely jam-packed, razor-thin National League wild card, which should make life very interesting as we approach Memorial Day. What's going on? Why are the Dbacks, who, are coming off of a World Series appearance, made some key acquisitions in the offseason, and they're getting, Ketel Marte still looks pretty good. Jock Peterson's played well for them. What's going on? Why are they off to a sluggish start?
Yeah, there are a few variables, Sully, as to why the D-backs have not lived up to the expectations that I have put on them entering this
Hmm.
year. Of course, coming off the World Series. One, injuries to the team. You're down a Perdomo. You're down a Alec Thomas. Most
Hmm.
importantly, you look at that rotation. Erod has yet to suit up for the D-backs. He
Sure.
was the first big acquisition for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly, he is out to potentially the all-star break, maybe longer, maybe he'll come back quicker, but that's 2/5 of your rotation who is down. You look at the bullpen, it's been very shaky all year. Guys like Kevin Ginkel, who was so important to the D-backs run last season, nails in the playoffs, has not been good this year. Paul Sewald has finally returned after missing the first few weeks of the season. You go up and down that bullpen. Outside of like a Ryan Thompson, a Justin Martinez, not too many trustworthy guys there. And then you look at the offense. That has probably been the most disappointing thing about this team so far, because the offense was one of the best things about this team the first 15, 20 games this season. For the last 25 games or so, the offense has really gone to a slump. Guys like Lourdes Gurriel have stopped hitting. Guys like Eugenio Suarez have stopped hitting. And most importantly, one guy who has never gone off to a good start yet this season is Corbin Carroll, who through 50 games has been downright bad and one of the worst players in Major League Baseball when you look at the offensive numbers. You can't deny a sub 200 average, a sub 206, a sub 600 OPS. Corbin Carroll is just not doing enough at the plate. Now, he is on a little 5-game hitting streak. Is he starting to turn it around? I think it's still too early to say, but I think there's not been enough contributions from guys in your lineup, from Carroll to Moreno to Gurriel. The rotation has been hurt. The guys in the lineup have been hurt, and the bullpen has been shaky. I think it's been a confluence of variables that has led to this D-backs record of 2 games below 500.
Is Sewald hurt, or is he
He
back?
was hurt. Yeah, he's back
Okay.
now. It's been like 2 weeks for him. It hasn't been like maybe 3 weeks now. It hasn't been a super long time.
Yeah, I mean, Ginkle's been a big disappointment, and
Mhm.
obviously Montgomery didn't have a spring training, and Gallon's pitched well. Brandon Fats had some good starts. He's had
Yeah.
some bad starts. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You lose 60, at least 40% of your rotation that you're banking on is not is giving you piddly poo at this point. But yeah, I think to me it was Carroll. I mean, lest we forget, last year's Rookie of the Year was electric. I mean, he
Mhm.
power, hit all round offense, stolen bases, great defense, all the things, and that exciting spark plug on the team. And when you have a sub 3 slugging percentage,
It's bad.
I mean, that's for someone who you are expecting. That's a Jenga piece that you were expecting to be a big contributor. And the ripple effect of, okay, Carroll's not as effective, so you don't have to worry about pitching to him. Marte has held up his end of the bargain, and Walker's had some good games, but and you were hoping for a lot from Suarez at third base. I think that Carroll is in so many ways the key.
Yeah.
If he turns it around, you mentioned he's been playing well recently. If he turns it around, then that'll help the offense. If you get Eduardo Rodriguez in any way, shape, or form coming back and pitching decently, and Montgomery improving, and then that may get the rotation going, and maybe, just maybe, getting Sewald back will put some sort of anchor in the bullpen. You're right. But we're more or less at the 1/3 mark of the season, so you got to hope that a healthier D-backs team is going to, I don't know, refresh. I mean, it's not like they're playing on a 90 loss pace right now,
No.
but that's just my main diagnosis of the team.
Yeah, thankfully, we'll talk about segment number 2, that the wild card race has kept us in it. But like you said, Carroll is the key. I don't think this D-backs offense or this D-backs team reaches the heights that they want to reach this season if Carroll does not turn around his year. He is too dynamic of a player. He's too important to the offense at the top of the lineup. Right now, he's kind of an easy out for opposing pitchers. What he did last season on the bases, he was also a pretty good power guy. He had 18 home runs in the first half last season. We have not seen the power from Corbin Carroll this year. The speed also hasn't been the same for Corbin Carroll this year. If you go on StatCast and look at sprint speed, Corbin Carroll's not even like a top 25 player right now in terms of sprint speed, which is insane. He still looks as fast, but the numbers tell you he might be down a half step right now. So for the D-backs offense, if they want to reach the next level and become a more consistent team, Corbin Carroll has to wake up that bat, because I don't think this offense goes anywhere without him.
All right, well, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to contend in the National League this year and why things are actually not that different for the Arizona Diamondbacks than they were last year.
Spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or that fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or Apple App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB.
All right, we're going to hear from our friends over at supplyhouse.com. Order supplies that were made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands just a couple of clicks away at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the United States. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team, and talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, electricity supplies, and more from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service.
Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings your can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Right now, the Diamondbacks are hovering around 500. Last year, they finished 84-78, which is hovering around 500. And like last year, the National League wild card is razor thin. So it actually isn't when I said what's wrong with the Diamondbacks, the answer is not much. They're actually kind of where they were last year in terms of the standings. And as we're looking at Memorial, this is the last weekend before Memorial Day, which is kind of unofficially the 1/3 mark of the season, and I believe is the first real checkpoint of the season. The first time you can really look at the standings and say, okay, who the hell are we? The Diamondbacks are actually in surprisingly good shape to make a pretty solid playoff run, because despite all of the issues that we just said, They are currently tied in the loss column with San Diego, San Francisco, and St. Louis. And San Diego currently has the third wildcard spot, but the D-backs are currently right in it.
Yeah, that third wildcard spot really can go to anyone. It feels like it's going to be a NL West team that probably gets that third wildcard spot. But right now, no one has really taken the reins. The number one wildcard spot is going to an NL East team. Either Phillies or Braves is taking it.
Right.
The second one will probably go to the NL Central, either the Cubs or the Brewers. And it feels like the Brewers right now. So that leaves one spot left, and you're looking at the D-backs, you're looking at the Padres, you're looking at the Giants. I mean, even teams like the Cardinals and the Pirates are not that far out, but it's like, do I trust the Cardinals? Do I trust the Pirates? Do I trust the Nationals? No. When I'm looking at the NL wildcard race, I'm fearful of the Padres stealing it. The Giants, I don't love the team on paper in terms of their top end talent, but they always play better than their expectations.
Yeah, I like Melvin as that manager. I think they're going to be a real contender down the stretch.
Yeah, I would say the only team that I think is a little bit of a dark horse that I think could heat up if they get healthy is the Cincinnati Reds, but they're still probably a year away from really contending. So it's like when you look at the path for the wild card, the D-backs are as talented as any team in the wild card mix. They are coming off a season where they have a ton of experience for battling for that last spot, and then they know the type of team that they can be when they get hot, because that's what they proved to themselves last year in the postseason. And so when I'm looking at that wild card race, yes, the D-backs have not been playing their best baseball right now, but it's still wide open, and all they have to do is get a little bit hot, get a little bit healthy, and they can easily slip into the wild card race.
And I really think this, because it's so tight, and fans of the show know I say this a lot, but when you get to the 1/3 mark, which is more or less Memorial Day, that's when you should look around and you say, okay, what's our major issue? And obviously health is a major issue for the D-backs, but you can sort of say they need an impact bat, they need a little bit of pitching depth. Okay, first things first. When you wake up on the Tuesday after Memorial Day, you have to identify what the immediate problem is and immediately look to your farm system and say, do we have someone there already in our system who we can plug in and try to fill a hole internally? I mean, I really think that there should be a lot of teams just calling up top prospects on June 1st to sort of say, all right, like if we have a hole at second base, who's our best second base prospect? Put you in. And remember this key fact: mediocre is better than bad. Mm-hmm. So if you have a bad situation and you make it mediocre, you have at least improved it a little bit. And sometimes the chain reaction of filling a hole, even with something mediocre, can work out. You saw that last year with the Diamondbacks, as they brought players up. They didn't always have the superstar in there, but sometimes having an Evan Longoria to be a placeholder was better than having nothing there. And every single win you can steal in June is a win you don't have to steal in August and September. Mm-hmm. So take a good long look at your farm, but also right now you have, Miami and Colorado are realistically the only two teams in the National League that have zero chance. And Chicago, the White Sox, the Angels, and sad to say the A's don't really have a chance in the American League. Call them. See if there's anything there you can go to sort of pick off of that carcass and try to just at least put Band-Aids on some issues, because in the end, that may be enough, and fix it so you can pick up as many wins as you possibly can. And where 85 wins will probably get into the playoffs, and there'll probably be a bunch of teams between 86 and 80 wins in the National League. A win here or there is going to be the difference.
Yeah, I love that theory. For the D-backs to apply it, though, it's just a little bit tough. I can look at the bullpen as maybe you need to go upgrade, see who you have in your farm system. But it's like, you look at that rotation. If it's healthy, you're going to have Gallen, Kelly, Monty, Erod, Fott. Like, can't really put another guy there. The lineup, it's like, I like every player that's playing. They're just not playing well. Lourdes Gurriel has to play better. Corbin Carroll has to play better. Gabriel Moreno, like, The bats that the D-backs need are already on the team. They just have to wake up. And if they can do that, the D-backs can have one of the best offenses in Major League Baseball. But right now, this team is more theoretical than tangible with how they're playing right now.
By the way, just so you know, I mean, this is this weird fact. Of all the teams that are currently wild card teams, you have like the Cubs have a negative run differential. The Giants have a huge negative run differential. The Cardinals, the Pirates, the Nationals, the Mets, a lot of them have negative run differentials. Diamondbacks have a positive run differential. I mean, it's like, I know that's not the end all or be all, but they're playing better than I think that people realize. And a bounce here, a bounce there, they're going to be right back in that. We'll tell you what, we're going to take, when we get back, I do want to talk about how the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, and yes, Kansas City could show a lot of teams not to go all Mandalorian on you, but this is the way. Now, let me tell you something. As we talk to our friends from FanDuel, there's no better time to be a sports fan right now. You've got the Stanley Cup finals going, or the Stanley Cup conference finals going on now. You got Edmonton and Dallas playing. The Celtics and the Pacers are playing as we're recording this. And, of course, you got Dallas and the Timberwolves going for the Western Conference. And you've got Major League Baseball about a third of the way over, and you're starting to see what the pennant races look like. It's a fabulous time to be a sports fan, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets for any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. This is a reminder that Locked On has become the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on the YouTubes. And now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local listeners on Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV's channel app. Lest we forget, just in 2021, the Dbacks were a 100-loss team. The Texas Rangers were a 100-loss team. And lest we forget, those two teams played in the World Series last year. And lest we also forget, last year, the Royals were a 100-loss team. And right now, they trail Cleveland by only a game and a half, and they have one of the game's most dynamic players in all of baseball in the son of former Arizona Diamondback World Series champion Bobby Witt. That would be Bobby Witt Jr. And the rejuvenation of Salvador Perez. And stunningly, one of the best acquisitions in baseball, Seth Lugo. Seth freaking Lugo is a front runner for the Cy Young Award. When I hear about teams that crash and burn, and I'm not that far from where the Angels play, and it's been a while since they've even put a 500 team on the field. What can we learn about how fast the D-backs, the Royals, and the Rangers have turned things around?
Well, I think it shows you that in baseball, you don't need 4 or 5 years to build a good team. The Rangers were an awful team, just like the D-backs not that long ago, and they kind of took a different approach than the D-backs, but they went out there and they said, we're just going to spend a boatload of money in the offseason, and they did it over the course of a couple off seasons, and it worked out. They went out there, got the Corey Seagers, who was World Series MVP. They got the Marcus Semien of the world. They loaded up in their rotation, right? They built themselves a good lineup, but also they had some homegrown talent. It's not just spending money. You have to have that balance. They had the Evan Carters and the Wyatt Langfords and the Josh Youngs of the world. Like, they have built and developed good talent. Same with the Kansas City Royals, who have been developing the Bobby Witts, and the Salvador Perez's have been there for a very long time. And then they went to this offseason and they said, you know what? We're the Kansas City Royals. We're a small market. We're not going to go out there and get the Otanis of the world, but let's get some good major leaguers. Let's get the Seth Lugos of the world and just get quality talent in the building. The D-backs, I don't like to use them as an example for team building because I think their team building strategy was just so weird and like kind of unpredictable. Yes,
Mhm.
Corbin Carroll and Brendan Pfaadt, those are homegrown stars, but like you traded for Ketel Marte. Christian Walker was a journeyman off the waiver wire. You traded for Zach Allen. Merrill Kelly came over from the Korean League and started dominating. So I think they're just a weird team. You traded Dalton Varsho for Lourdes Gurriel and Gabriel Moreno. Like the D-backs really built a lot of their team via the trade, and maybe could look at the D-backs as like a model for risk assessment. Say, you know what? Sometimes you have to take big swings. Sometimes you have to make a trade that, you know what, may not look good in the hindsight, but maybe down the line it pays off. And that's what some of the trades for the D-backs have, well, worked out for them. But most importantly, when I look at the Rangers and when I look at the Royals, I think there are teams that have spent money, but also done a good job of building an infrastructure of young, homegrown talent. I think you could take that away from all three teams.
Yeah, I mean, I admired the fact that the Royals took one look at the AL Central and said, "There's no front runner here,"
Yeah.
and they saw there were some veterans who were available. I mean, Lugo came in, and obviously he's been a smash. But they brought in Michael Walker. They brought in Hunter Renfroe. Not everything has worked, but maybe just having, let's bring in some veterans. Let's roll the dice. Now they have actually drafted well. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. has turned into a fine draft pick. Brady Singer was a first round pick, and he's turned out to be a quality pitcher for them. They stole Cole Reagans in the Aroldis Chapman deal, and so and bringing in Waka has helped the rotation. Sometimes there is luck involved, and sometimes things fall in the right way, like it did with Arizona. And sometimes teams have the best laid plans. I think the White Sox had a really nice strategy. They built a team through trades through their farm, and they saw the Braves lock a lot of their players up long term. They did the same thing. It just so happens the players they locked up wound up flopping in the long term. And so they're stuck with a bad team for a while. There is a certain amount of luck that goes along with it. But I also think what the Royals did was basically say, let's patch, this is a winnable division, let's patch holes. And I think the D-backs in last year's offseason, coming off a surprise World Series run, were like, hey, let's patch holes. Let's not, they're not going to go for, some of the big, huge ones, but some of the big, huge ones, haven't been panning out. I mean, Blake Snell has been a bustarunio. So I think that there's a certain amount of luck to it, but it's also take a look at the competition and say, if we just put major leaguers around our lineup, good things will happen.
Yeah, I think also when you look at all three teams, it shows you how quickly true stars can change like the fortune of your franchise. When the Rangers acquire a Corey Seager, who when he's healthy, the way he can carry a team offensively and his leadership. Same with Marcus Semien. When you look at the Kansas City Royals, you see Bobby Witt. He has all this hype coming out of the draft. He has a great rookie season, and now he's starting to mature and start to break out and look like one of the best superstars in Major League Baseball. Corbin Carroll last year, the Rookie of the Year campaign he had, where he's immediately a top 5 MVP candidate as a rookie. When you have a true superstar or multiple superstars on your team, it just changes the fortune of your franchise, and it just raises the ceiling of your team so much quicker than when you're obviously not that talented.
All right. Well, look, it's going to be an interesting year. We're going to see the teams, bottleneck, and once again get a chance to see a team that no one expects go to the World Series. It'll be 3 straight years of that in the National League, and 4 out of the last 5, because you've had the Nats. The last 4 full seasons, you've had unusual National League champions. The Nats in 19, the Braves had a losing record in August and didn't win 90 games. So they won it all in 21, Phillies in 22, D-backs last year. A lot of good things can happen if you get into the dance. All right. Before we wrap things up here, I am going to the trivia question is a Diamondbacks featured trivia question, which is, who was the first Diamondbacks pitcher to hit 2 home runs in one game? That's it. Put your answer down here on YouTube or on Twitter or whatever it's called now, or on Instagram. Miller Thomas, where can people follow your great show?
Please follow Locked On Diamondbacks both Twitter and Instagram. Follow Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube as well, or follow my personal account at CareerThomas24 for my Twitter, or Miller.Thomas123 on Instagram.
All right. And you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter and Sully Baseball Podcast Instagram. And also check out Locked On A's. We get 5 more episodes. It's like a bonus. 5 more episodes of me every single week. Talking with our good buddy Miller Thomas about all good things with the defending National League champs and what should be a razor-thin NL wildcard race. He's Miller Thomas. I'm Paul Francis Sullivan. For old time's sake, let's give ourselves a fist bump right here. Come on, get in.